Hello Reds, welcome along to All for United.
Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to All for United. This is Wall of Red. I can't get over that intro, and yes, we have changed it. He's added the Champions League bit in. He had to do it. Yeah, I know what you're all wondering. Carthy, what the bloody are you doing here on a Sunday night? What are you doing with a bunch of people that, want to chat shit? Well, Joseph, Mr. Actor Joe, who's got his new film out tomorrow morning, right? He missed his bus because, does anyone know where he was getting his bus from? Does anyone want to know?
Where?
Well,
Tinder date.
Our Joseph claims that he had a date with a Korean model. Now, personally, I think that's a weird way to describe finding a new porn category, but
Probably a motor car.
What?
A Korean motor car, probably latest model.
Barry's a lot nicer than I am, I'll tell you that. Anyway, welcome to the show, everyone. Hope you're all doing good. Thank you for joining me on the panel, everyone. How are you doing? I'm not going to lie, I only figured out what the topic of the show was about a minute before going live. But here we are. We'll wing it, as if I know what I'm doing for the majority of the time. Super League, then, because we've not talked about that before. We're talking about, obviously, the consequences of that, because it sounds like it's gonna be dead in the water. Oh, hang on, I've got Abdel in the background. Abdel's here as well. Sorry, Abdel. Yeah, I'm here, not Joe. Sorry to disappoint you. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the punishments. Right, Super League's dead. We hope. Perez still thinks it's on, because essentially what he's got at the minute is a couple of Spanish teams plus Juve, and we're like, all right, mate, you go for it. You have that Spanish Cup plus an Italian guest. The discussion today is, we'll go to Stu first. For the Big Six in England, that's who we're focusing on, because, Brexit, we don't care about the other teams. What do you think the punishment should be? And what is the best way to make sure that this thing doesn't happen again?
Yeah, well, it's a very difficult question to answer, really, because if you punish the club, then you're going to punish the players by default and the manager by default. And it sounds like, from everything that we've been led to believe, these guys had no prior information of this. Now, how true that is, I don't know, but that seems to be. But can you go ahead and punish the owners? Not really, because they've not committed any kind of criminal offence. Can you fine them? Complete waste of time. Mansour's probably got 100 million stuffed down his settee somewhere. So, you can't really do that. With regards to Perez and the binding contract, I kind of agree with him, really. I mean, I know a little bit about contract law, and the chances are these guys would have been tied into a contract. Whether there's a penalty for removal of said contract, I doubt it. And I think Perez is right. I think it's now kind of sleeping, but it's sleeping in the background like a monster, waiting to come out of the ocean. So I think it is going to be revisited. How and when, I don't know. So with regards to punishments, I wouldn't be surprised if UEFA don't come down on these 6 clubs. But whether, again, they're legally entitled to do that, whether there be a fight through the courts, court of arbitration as an example, I don't know. So really, there should be some kind of punishment. I would agree with that, but how it would work out, I don't know. I know people are going to talk about the 50+1 rule, but again, you're going to get tied up in the courts on this, because you can't go to a club owner that owns 70% of the business and turn around and say, oh, by the way, you can't own 70% of the shares anymore. You can only own 49%. So if the government look to do this, then realistically, it can only be for new ownership. moving forward. I don't think it can work for existing ownership. So again, it doesn't help our club and it doesn't help the other big six. So I know I probably aren't really saying much because I'm not, and I appreciate I'm not really saying much, but I don't really think there's a great deal to say, if that makes sense. Stupid, I know, but that's my opinion, guys. I don't know
not a great deal to say. It's a good thing I'm not doing a big show on it, eh?
Yes, that's right, yeah. I was trying
Jeff,
to articulate it the best way I could,
Jeff, who, by the way, I've just discovered is an absolute psychopath. He's woken up at 5 a.m. to do this, right? You woke up at 5 a.m. to look at Joe's face. Why?
I'm here for Stu, though.
Yeah, Stu, right? Fair enough. Right, Stu mentioned that it's like a sleeping monster almost, and it could come back. Now, we saw originally Project Big Picture. That seems like what it's been formed off, and that could have been formed off anything because there were always rumors of a super league of different teams coming together to almost combat the Champions League. How soon do you think it can come back, and how important do you think it is for clubs like United, clubs like Arsenal, clubs like Chelsea to carry on with their efforts to protest and to show their disgust almost at these actions? And how effective do you think it'll be at keeping them at bay? And do you think at some point it will have to be a case of they have to go, otherwise it will come back?
Well, the momentum should be still going. Like protests, especially now that the fans aren't still back in the arenas, that should be still going on because it's going to be more obvious. Because if you don't have fans in the stadium, then if there are people there, then it's more noticeable. But if it's a typical game day and then the green and gold banners will be on the stand, then it's like a regular game day, actually. So it's important that we still talk about it because, as Perez said, it's just sleeping in the water. They might wait a year or two, maybe 3 years before they try again, because those two Spanish clubs are the most desperate, along with Juve, I think, in terms of getting this league off the ground, because they're like deep debt. Unlike United, like in fairness to United, yes, we have a big debt, but it's like a working debt. It's like a normal part of the business in terms of the corporate side. But as a football club, that's not really good. But with Barca and Real, that's not sustainable in terms of any organization. That's why they're desperate to have this at least £300 million or was it £900 million injection into their club instantly, without even competing. So it's important that we still talk about or just protest even online in terms of the ownership, and ideally we get some kind of legislation or intervention from the government. But as Stu said, that's not going to be practical at this point. So the most that we can do is just continue talking about it and let the owners know that, hey, we're watching you and we're not going to let you get away with something like that again.
No, I agree that the point you make about legislation, it can't happen straight away because legislation takes months to come in. Benny, we discussed this a little bit at the protest, but I'll ask you again, of course. Now, the 50+1 thing, we discussed how, first of all, there were loads of fans there with 50+1 banners. That is the point of these protests. We know the legislation currently that they're trying to push, because I've heard Andy Burnham speak about it. I've heard the Mayor of Liverpool speak about it as well, that they want fan representation in terms of voters' rights given to season ticket holders. So any major decision for the club has to be passed by at least 50% of season ticket holders. Now, do you think that itself is a punishment, or do you think it's almost a case of, well, they're not always, fans, they're always going to be divided. We're not always going to agree on everything. So they might not even necessarily overrule the commercial holders of shares. So do you think that's even a punishment if they were to enforce that?
I think it will be a punishment in a way for the owners because they won't be able to get everything in their own way. Fans have to have the same, mate. I don't know. I don't know how it will happen. I don't know when it will happen. It might even be a long, drawn-out process. It might be months, maybe even years before we even get a say, man. But it needs to happen somehow, whether it'll be, as we've discussed before, whether it be season ticket holders, 50% of the season ticket holders all have to agree, for something to pass. But it's about time we stop getting kicked to the curb, and treat like absolute dirts on the bottom of people's shoes. Because that's what I think fans are. We're the least thought of, we're the least respected, and it's about time we had even if it was just a little voice. It's about time that we had a little voice in there, even if it's just to express our opinions, to get our opinions across. Because yes, people might say that's what you got Must for, and that's what you got all these other support for. But that alone has proven that the voice isn't big enough. It's not heard enough, So I think if you can get some sort of fans representation in there to a larger audience amongst the fans, it'll be a whole lot better. And I think in a way, it will be a kick in the teeth for these owners because they won't have everything their own way. They won't have the only and last say on everything. Which will probably be a far bigger punishment than a financial punishment because, as Stu said, that some of these owners have got hundreds of millions of pounds stashed down the back of the sofas, and it really it's like 50p to them, innit, really, any financial fine, because let's be fair, it won't be a whopping great big one. It'll just be a little slap on the wrist, if anything, from any of the organisations that may want to go and give it some sort of financial punishment. And even if they deduct points from the teams, then you're punishing the players and the manager for something they had no part in, So I think we need to get something written down that we've got a voice somewhere. How long that'll take, I don't know, because I don't know. I'm no law expert. I'm no expert on anything like this or contractual stuff. But so long as the end game is that we get some sort of a say, I'll be a bit happier than what I am now with this current situation. But how long that'll take, your guess is as good as mine, pal.
100%. I completely agree. Fan representation and fan ownership is something we have to work towards. Now, it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be a quick fix, but I think it is something we need to aspire to achieve. Now, the comments below keep them coming, by the way. Everyone in the comments, let me know what you're thinking. Like the video if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, youtube.com/AllForUnited. I believe that is still the address. I think Ben might have changed it. I'm not sure. It's something like that. Just go search it. There is a question here. I'm going to go to you on this one. Because Benny did mention it shortly in terms of points deductions and financial things and bans. Now, Stuart says, does anyone anticipate dual punishments from UEFA and the Premier League? Now, in terms of that, do you reckon you'll see it will be like just a fine, or do you think maybe we might see transfer bans, European bans, point deductions? Do you think that will happen, or do you reckon it'll just be get the fine and make it look like we're doing something?
No, I maximum they'll give them a fine. Like UEFA and the FA and the PL, they're also cowards themselves. They're not good in any shape or form, and like basically it's just two big like institutions trying to lock horns with each other with which one of them's trying to take the big cake for themselves, basically. And so the maximum they could do is probably a fine. I don't think they can like deduct points or basically say just, oh, we're gonna take you out of a competition. Like they're all bluffs and words between two big organizations. They're like, oh, we're gonna do this, oh, we're gonna do that, and basically the European Super League at the beginning called their bluff. They were like, yeah, okay, sure, try to do it. Let's see you try to take Real Madrid off the Champions League semifinals. They're not gonna do that. It's just a bluff. But yeah, the maximum they can do is try to find a clause somewhere so that they can fine them with a big amount of money. That's probably it. Same thing, like, I mean, when you were talking about the binding contract, from what I know from a binding contract is that the difference between it and non-binding is that there is no clause that the members of the founders can use to get out of the contract, basically. So it's I will do this contract, I will fulfill this contract with no ifs and buts. There is no, if this happened, I will get out. If that happened, I will get out. Basically, it's a 100% commitment that you will fulfill this.
So
That's
basically, what you're saying is a binding contract is binding.
It's exactly what it means. Is that you can't basically City, Man United, Liverpool, whatever the club can't just go up and tell Florentino Perez, "Oh, sorry, we're not doing it anymore because we now got pressured a little bit by the fans." No, they have to do it, and they're gonna face a lot of consequences to do it. Now, of course, they can fight it somehow, but I don't know what the legality of that would be and the punishment of that would be. So yeah, to answer that question specifically, I don't think UEFA or PL or the FA are going to do anything. Yeah,
Well,
no.
fair enough. I mean, the words I took out of that were the UEFA, Premier League, FIFA. They're all cowards. You're right. They are. They're just egos fighting each other. Barry, if Abdel's right in that, you will see them get a fine. Do you think? What fine even damages the pockets enough for them to go, oh, yeah, we really made a mistake there? How much would you have to fine them to get that anyway?
Well, I'm not privy to the bank balances of these various owners, but I would gladly trade mine with any of theirs.
Well, if you were talking that, bloody hell.
Yeah. Look, I think firstly, as a fan, the highlight of this has been how it's galvanized football fans the world around. It doesn't matter which team they support. It's really been an eye-opener. And I think this sends out a message to the owners for future shenanigans that they may want to indulge in. The bottom line of all of this is, what are the legal implications? And I think this is something that will be thrashed out by the lawyers. We can merely speculate. Because what do the constitutions of UEFA, of the Premier League, of FIFA, what do they state with respect to something like this? It's probably an unprecedented move. And I agree with Abdul that these organizations are toothless, and they're also not beyond reproach. They're not exactly run by a bunch of angels either. So in terms of finding these clubs, you've got to find them tens of millions to actually hurt the owners. But in many respects, you're hurting. So there's so much fallout on other people that I think there's no solution to this. And I agree with the previous speakers that I think that this is probably going to fizzle out in some respect. It's going to be the topic for future discussions for a long period of time, and we can only speculate. But there's no amount of money that you can find these guys that will actually hurt them, because they seem to have limitless supplies thereof. And to repeat myself, by doing that, potentially you're going to jeopardize the livelihoods of others caught up in the fallout.
Yep, 100% agree, because we're forgetting the backroom staff, the staff around the club that will get affected by this, because, of course, we saw it during the pandemic. They got financially hit. We saw staff getting furloughed just to, pay for
transfers as well. Are gonna
exactly. Keane, just on that, in terms of, while we're on the topic of hurting these guys, my opinion on it is the best way to hurt them is, well, no, it's the best way to hurt them is just points deductions, relegations. That way, they don't want to own the clubs anymore. That's the only way that you're going to actually hurt them. However, you can't do that, because then you're punishing the fans, you're punishing the players, you're punishing the staff, everyone else. You just can't do that. So is it important to find a balance? Because you don't want to hurt one too much, and you don't want to do too less of another. Where does that balance lie for you?
For me, I think, look, the players, the managers, backroom staff, everyone who's employees of these football clubs who had nothing to do with this, these people shouldn't be affected by this whatsoever. Their livelihood shouldn't be taken away. These people are innocent people. These people who represent the badge, so these people shouldn't be affected. For me, these owners have a lot to answer for with this. They portrayed football fans. It's their pockets that should be hurt, not anyone else. But then again, as people have said here, and I'm in total agreement, these people have unlimited amounts of money, and how much money is enough money? Oh, in terms of being affected by this. So in terms of fine balance, I don't know what that is. But as everyone has said as well, like the FA, FIFA, the Premier League, all these people aren't angels. At the end of the day, it's billionaires fighting billionaires at this stage. And where's the line being drawn? Like, what's going to happen here?
How depressing. How depressing. And you know what's even more depressing? I've got someone to bring back on, and it's just going to be horrible now. Please welcome your favourite Northern Irish, European, British host, Joe O'Neill. How are you doing, mate? You twat.
Yeah, it was going a lot better until the introduction and every other part of this. And I can't give Abdel shit anymore for being late, which he was again today, because I watched it from the beginning, because I am a little bit late myself. So
how's that?
Okay, I'm dropping off.
Okay, I'll tell you how the date is going. I'm talking to ye. That's how well the date went. Okay. So I'm
pretty
here.
fucking good then.
Yes.
You don't need that long, do you?
I believe me, if anything would have happened, it's been locked down for so long, it would have been 20 seconds. So there's no doubt in that in my mind.
That's what he was doing while he missed the bus. He was in the middle of it, and you went, "Oh shit, there goes the bus." Now, man,
I'm at the end of it before I was at the middle of it. You know.
Joe.
Yeah.
Did you get the prescription you asked me for?
I think it got lost in the
mail. That's disturbing. Right, I'm going to give you your show back. Hang on a minute.
Thank you so much,
Fred Woodward. He's Northern Irish.
You can fuck off, okay?
He's Northern Irish.
Stuart O'Hara is filling that quota, okay?
He's definitely Northern Irish. Fred, he's definitely Northern Irish. Remember that. Okay, I'm going to give him his show back. See you all later on. And don't forget, we might win this bastard league.
Yeah, Kartik.
Bye, Kartik. Thanks so much. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for being. Well, first of all, thanks, Kartik. Make sure to do the usual stuff and to follow him. And I fuck off, Hannah. Like, I can't. This isn't the way things are going. All right. And myself and Keane are in the same boat here when we're not in that boat whatsoever. I saw him coming in from a point of freshness that I've no idea what you were talking about. All I got was Keane being very depressed, and then Kartik agreeing with him and going depressed, and then everyone made fun of me. So I'm used to that being happening. So who was next in the queue to go next anyway?
James.
James. Okay, James.
Oh, he's got his hand up. Oh, hello, James.
So James,
me next.
He's a good little boy. Look, he got new glasses and everything to show us off, and I bet you no one even pointed it out, did they?
No, they didn't.
This is what
I got
new specs as well.
Just for me. Yeah, but you also, you've a few more things that are distracting us right now to look at than the glasses, and this is what I mean. Like, it's great to see Barry and his grandson on screen again. Barry and James back together again. The Doc family.
Great grandson, Joe.
Yeah, no, he might be a great grandson, but I wouldn't be a favorite. But James, to follow Kartik's questioning, whatever it was, answer what the previous question was to the question asked to Keane, we'll say.
Jesus, I don't even know what it was. Can I just give you my thoughts on how we should be punished?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, that'll do. I mean, I don't. Like Abdul said, what punishment we should get and what we will get will be completely different. But I fear that it'll be everyone but the owners that will be punished, really, because, like it's been said in the comments, we get a fine, it'll just come out of the transfer budget, not out of the owners' pockets. If we get a points deduction, the owners don't care where we finish in the league, really. They just like the amount of money it earns them, so they're not going to care. It'll just be the team and the fans that suffer. And, we can't sit here and say it's unfair, because every sanction on every club that's had horrible owners is unfair. Look at the clubs in the Football League that have gone into administration and their fans are punished for being owned by arseholes, and it will be the exact same. I think we can feel sorry for ourselves all we like, but I don't think it's going to be any different, and I don't think it'd be fair to be any different. But with that being said, I think that like they said, the Premier League is completely spineless, and they know that without Man United and Liverpool and Man City, a lot of money goes from that league, so that might play in our favour into how lenient they are. But yeah, I can see UEFA maybe. It's the same with UEFA. They're a bit spineless in that if they punish us too hard, there's that fear we'll just go and do it again. We'll just turn against them. So, we're in a catch-22 era. Everyone at United feels like we should be punished, but I don't know how much we will be. And I just feel like everyone else, apart from the owners, are going to be punished. And we've just got to accept that. And it'll just make us hate them even more. And hopefully it'll push us even further to kicking them out.
Yeah, hopefully, but I really actually don't see anything happening, if I'm being honest. And Vin the comments. Looks like Joe the traitor returned after all. I have no idea what that referencing to. If anything, I've been a wholesome, loving man for the entirety of me being on this show. But Vin, that's fine. You take out your hate at me all you want.
Not for me.
Not well, no, not for you, Abdul. But you've earned the bad boy reputation for this show. I don't think we're going to get any trouble whatsoever. And I think what James said, he's the only person I really heard. I heard some people earlier on when I was in a taxi, but we're not going to get punished because UEFA are spineless. The Premier League are spineless. Take for example, City and their when they were what's the financial fair play, when they just completely ignored that and just did what they wanted. UEFA did nothing because City came out and said, we will just put you through the courts and you'll not get anything out of us for 30 years. Nothing will happen. So I think UEFA just gave up on that. And if they punished us in any way, the exact same thing will happen. We might get a minuscule fine, which will affect no one. And that's kind of the best thing, because we shouldn't be deducted points. We shouldn't be banned from Europe. I think the last time, I don't know if anyone know off the top of their head last time someone was banned for Europe. The one that comes to my mind is Liverpool with the Heysel Stadium. That was everyone. But there was literal murders in that situation. So I don't think that's going to happen again. But I can't think of another time anyone's been banned from European football.
This is a completely different system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I would like to see.
What's that?
And it won't happen. But I'd like to see the Big Six have to fund grassroots football for 5 years, completely fund it. I'd like the Big Six. No grassroots club should have to struggle to get a kit. There should be a kit available for them. Yeah. They shouldn't have to worry about pitch fees. There should be pitch fees, footballs and things like that. I mean, you can go up and down the country, probably in your countries as well, where you see grassroots football and 8-year-olds are running around in old shirts and socks. Well, why can't they do that? Why can't the Premier League or the FA get them to fund grassroots football?
I've actually got a good question to do with that, actually, because look, let's be honest, we can all hope and pray and dream that the Glazers are going to get out of our club, but if it happens, it's not going to be anytime soon. And actually, Stuart actually puts in a great comment. It would look badly anyway for to come down hard on any team for this while they're still being lax on racism. Absolutely. But they just seemingly don't give a shit about racism. Like, it's embarrassing. But like, the Glazers are going to be with us for a good while longer. We hope that tomorrow they'll put it up for sale and then the day after it'll be sold. But let's be honest, if they put it up for sale tomorrow, say we have intention to sell it, it'll be a year before they're gone, if we're lucky. So I think the most likely thing they're going to do is they're going to try win our good graces. Like John Henry at Liverpool has already said that they've started funding local stuff and they bought a centre half the other day. But what do you think the Glazers are going to do for us to try and make us forget? How much do you think they're going to invest to get us? Now, you can shake your head and like, we can all choose to not forget, but we don't represent every fan. We just represent us, unfortunately. So what do you think they will do? I'm going to go around from Stuart that way down. So I'll go to you first, Stu, okay?
I mean, I think they'll patronise. There's no two ways about it. I think they'll probably try and spend heavy in the summer because that's what they think will appease us. There's actually nothing the Glazers can do right now that will appease any fan of our great club. There's just nothing they can do.
I beg to differ.
Well,
unfortunately,
No, but it's all about opinions, isn't it? And that's why we all love the game. It's all about opinions. In my mind, in my opinion, there's nothing they can do. The best option is to sell the club because, whether they will sell the club or not, they're gonna make a shitload of money off us. Let's be honest. They're gonna walk away with 2 or 3 billion quid out their pocket by the time all's said and done. But you're right. It's going to take a long time for somebody to put 3 or 4 billion quid on the table, and there's only a finite amount of people that can do that. And it'll take a good 12 months, probably a bit longer for the due diligence, etc., to go through and debts to be sorted. Yeah. So in my mind, that there isn't actually anything that they can do but walk away. So I support with that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But I think for us, the diehard fans, which probably represent maybe 15, maybe 20% of the core fan base, if we're lucky, we will always stand by that. But it's the other 80% we have to convince that we can't accept anything, Yeah,
but this is the thing. And I'm sorry to go on.
Yeah, go for it.
About what Perez was talking about, and I spoke, as you well know, about the me being a fan they're not interested anymore. Doc being a fan they're not interested anymore. Yeah. Not being ageist or anything like that.
Yeah,
they've always been interested in tomorrow's fan. You know, the FIFA fan. That's what they're bothered about. And this is the problem where you talk about the 20 or 30% die-hard fans who love the club unequivocally. It's the new age fans that are going to be the problem. So, yeah, I agree with you on that, mate.
Yeah. Perfect. Jeff, I'll go to you
Sorry,
now.
Doc, I wasn't being ageist.
There's enough ages for the two of you there. Yeah. Jeff, I'll come to you now. What do you think the Glazers' next move is going to be?
I completely agree with Stu that this might be a big summer, spending summer, if they want to get back to our good graces, you know. We might get Holland, Kane, Sancho, Rice. Oh, sorry.
Boo.
Indeedy, okay.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Grealish, yeah. We might get Ole might get everyone on his wish list, but the British press get a bad rap really, but they got to do more of what they did the last time around. Then when they got I think it was the Mirror. They got a reporter down in Florida, and they just bugged Avram Glazer, if I'm not mistaken. They bugged the heck out of him, and just saying, "Hey, what's your comment on this and this?" So I think that's one way to get them pissed, because right now they can't be bothered, in their big mansions and just enjoying their dividends and whatnot with their stock money. So yeah, I think that's what they'll do. They'll just say everything. Let's say yes to everything or everyone on Ole's wish list, and then once you have that FIFA fan that Stu's talking about, they'll be happy, because hey, we got these players and we got to play them on FIFA for real. So that's a best and worst case scenario for me.
Okay. Yeah. Keen for yourself?
There's nothing the Glazers can do to make me happy ever. The only thing they could do is leave the football club, and I'd be content with that. But there's nothing they can do this summer. I don't even think they'd spend money, because you look at every time we finish top four post Alex Ferguson, they haven't backed a manager. We're nailed on to finish second now at this point in time. Glazers don't care about the fans' feelings, and they don't care about winning back the respect of the fans or anything like that. If they'd done that, they're here 16 years and they haven't even come out with a statement in that time. So I'm not confident that they'll come out and back us, even as a result of the fallout. But I think just looking at this now, I think it might be just a case of damage limitation in the summer when it comes to our targets and stuff like that. Because again, we're not known to get our first choice targets the whole time. So even if they do invest, it'll probably be on target 2, target 3. And that's the way it probably will go with these owners.
Yeah. She's all fierce depressing, lads. Jarvis is here with a good right-wing statement. I'm against state involvement. We're not Marxists. Glazers bought the assets and it's theirs. Even if it suits me this time, it's a matter of principle, because socialism never works, and the end, it's tragedy. I believe everyone has the right to say, but I also believe that no one ever, right-wing thoughts end with people dying. Left-wing thoughts end with people being poor, and I'm fine with people being poor. So, let's just give it a chance of 50+1, and we could be a lot happier that way. But James, for yourself, what is the next move for the Glazers, do you think? Is it, like Keane was saying, shut down shop, or do you think they're going to try back buy back our love? They never bought it in the first place, but I think they're going to go on the charm offensive.
There's nothing that the Glazers can do. Like Stu said, there's nothing they can do to win us back other than leave. But I think just get themselves a little bit of dignity back. I think whatever the club earns from participating in competitions this season, so prize money from wherever we finish in the Premier League, wherever we finish in the Europa League, and TV money, just give it to the clubs that they were willing to put out of business. Distribute it evenly all across the football leagues. Give it to every club, proportional to their income, of course. Just give them a bit of help in such a hard time. I think that would earn them a little bit of respect, just basic human decency. Given they're about to put hundreds of, definitely thousands of people out of jobs. They're about to put hundreds of years of history of every single club in the football league out of business. So, just sort of repay in that way. Just, we don't need the money. They don't need the money. Give it to people who are in need. Just protect the game that you were so intent on destroying, and maybe we might not see you as just bottom tier scum anymore.
And JMT, how likely do you think that is going to happen?
It's a fantasy, isn't it? It's never going to happen. You know, there's Glazers will see a pound coin on the floor and pick it up, but despite the fact that they're worth what £5 billion, so you know it's not going to happen. Any bit of money they can get, they're gonna keep. So
the people have spoken.
And I want Stu as well. I don't want to be here. I just want to listen to Stu for an
hour. Ben, you are as much diehard as they come. We look at your back, we always see every history of Manchester United. I know you've no love for the Glazers, but what do you think their next move will be? And is there any way aside from buying the club, aside from leaving the club, is there anything they can do for you than just leave to get you on side?
They could never do anything to get me on site, mate, to be fair. Aside from a big transfer budget, which I don't think is happening either, I reckon they're going to completely shut up shop. They're going to be... What part of me thinks... I agree with Keane a little bit. A part of me thinks they're going to be absolute arseholes this summer and just not back anybody. I don't know. I don't know why. I bet I might be completely wrong, but I think... I don't know. I've just got a funny feeling that they're going to shut it. But what I would love to see them do is season ticket renewals are up coming up in June, July time. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's June. I love them to come out with something that's saying we're going to pay 50% of your season ticket for next season. Thanks for sticking by us. Thanks for your loyalty throughout the whole of this pandemic hit year and a bit. That would maybe sort of go a teeny, weeny bit to make up for me a little bit, but nothing. I agree with everybody else. Nothing they could do would ever make anything they've done over the last week or so, even since they bought the club, anything they've done, would ever make me happy again until they fucking sell up and fuck off. But I don't know, mate. I just got a feeling like I'm keen for some reason deep down in my gut. I've got this funny feeling that they're going to shut up shop. They're not going to back Ollie, or if they do give Ollie some money, it'll be just for like piss poor fucking third-rate fucking players that we're not going to spend hardly any money on. However, if they're intent on trying to win back the fans or trying to go somewhere to appease the fans, give us some money off us. Pay for half our fucking season tickets or something. Do you know what I mean? But even then, I want to see people still protesting inside the stadium. Don't let these fuckers ever forget what they've done over this particularly the start of last week. Or this week, should we say? It's not the end of the week yet. But, that's my feelings on it, really.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough, and very passionate as always. Barry, you have been, lifelong Man United fan. You've been at every, since the mid-60s you've been going?
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure out, how do you meet everyone? How have you met everyone?
Joe,
how did that happen?
Some of us are born with magnetic personalities.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What can I say? What can I say?
But how many of the owners have you met before?
I have to say that I have met the Glazers on one occasion at the training ground. And to be quite honest with you, the only thing they spoke about was the Manchester weather.
Oh, really? And how long did that meeting go on for, that you were talking about?
Well, I happened to be watching a training session, and I don't know if they were watching the training session. They were busy on their mobile phones more than anything else. Right. So it was certainly, I didn't have tea with them, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think is the future, first of all? And then what do you think they're going to try to do to appease us?
Right.
Go for it.
I think that over the years, in many respects, they've kind of gone under the radar because stuff like this hadn't happened, although there were many that were very unhappy when they were given ownership of the club or when they bought ownership of the club. They will never win back the respect of the fans. No matter what they do, that is a relationship that is fractured forever. And I think they are going to do very, very little for the fans. I think that if Ed Woodward is indeed leaving, they will replace like with like, and you'll either see Matt Judge or Richard Arnold promoted within the club, and it'll be another yes man for them. In terms of the transfer window, I predict that we will be told that there are not adequate funds to purchase players. I'd love to see them upgrading the stadium. And of course, we will get platitudes like Phil Jones is like having a new signing. So that's what I predict for next season. I don't think they're going to do anything for us whatsoever.
And do you think the same with other managers that Ollie is so he's not going to get back? Do you think next season could end up being Ollie's last season at the club, or do you think they'll just keep playing it till it's just done?
I think it's a results-driven industry, so we shall have to see how the club progresses. But I think that there has definitely been progress this season, and now this has put a huge spanner in the works. I guess it's all up in the air, and maybe that will be the lifeblood of future programs in terms of what we're speculating what's going to be happening, because we are totally uncertain as to what the future heralds. When you listen to somebody like Gary Neville speaking, and I really enjoy what he has to say, and it would appear that the only way forward is sort of government intervention with respect to this. But I think that this is something that's going to tie up the legal profession for months, if not years, to come.
Wow. Very interesting as always, Barry. Thanks so much. And now, Abdul, for yourself, where do you think this is going to lead us? Do you think that... Because I think I'm the only one who thinks that the Glazers are actually going to give us money over the summer. I think for the first time ever, not the first time ever, but they're going to make a statement, I think. Or maybe I'm more hopeful. But what do you think is going to be... The summer transfer window is coming up very, very shortly. Do you think we're going to spend much? Do you think it's just going to be business as usual?
Yeah, I think you're hopeful, Joe, to be honest. I don't think they'll spend, and it's not about making a statement or not. It's about they just don't put money into the club. So they're looking, every time they spend money from the club's earnings. So and the club hasn't been earning a lot in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. So, and actually, in fact, the last year we made a loss. Actually, we survived the loss because we made the Champions League. And this year we'll probably make a little bit of profit because we got into the Champions League again for the second consecutive season. But it's not enough to make a proper transfer budget unless your owner pumps in money in. And they don't do that. So... And I don't have any faith in them doing that. Usually when they do make signings, like I said before, like it's from within the club. What has the club made this year? Let's say 200 million, I don't know, let's say 50 million operating costs and services and employees and blah, blah, blah. And then the rest of the 150 is for transfers. But do you think Joel or Avram will put 100 million of their own pocket into the club just to bump the transfer project? I don't think so. So... due to the pandemic, due to everything that's passed in the last 2 years, and now also the legal implications they have coming up because of the Super League, I do not think they will spend that much. I'd actually be surprised if we get 2 signings. 1 signing is the maximum,
Wow.
And yeah, like last year, when we talked about how they spend when we make top 4 and how they don't spend when we don't make top 4, sorry, the opposite. They didn't really spend. If you look at the transfer window we had last year, it's not good in comparison to clubs that want to win titles. It was not good. Like 2 kids who we haven't seen at all. One went on loan, and Ahmad he's still getting used to the Premier League. A 33-year-old, which he is fine, and I love him, Cavani, but it's still a 33-year-old for a short-term project, And Donny van de Beek coming from the Dutch league, and we know how a lot of the Dutch players need a long time to get accustomed to the Premier League, and a backup left back. So it was not good. Do you think it's going to be better spending another pandemic season with no fans, with no money coming into the club? It's going to be worse than that, the transfer before that. So I don't think there's anything they can make or they can do to appease the fans. Like, people have had enough, from the Glazers. And to be honest, a sign of good ownership is that if you don't know much about the owners, they're just running the club fine, and you really don't ask who the owners are because you're not really worried about that. Like, I mean, Liverpool have been succeeding in the last 3-4 years. FSG became a thing just in the last 2 years or the last year when they stopped spending that much or giving them what they want, what they need to do. So, like, do you need to love the owners? Do you not need to love the owners? It's not something I really care about. But because they haven't been running the club for 16 years in a good way, that's why we're so fixated on them and what they're doing and how they're running the club, and we hate them and we want them out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just how
Well,
it is.
the way
Sorry.
they can get me to love them is just don't buy Declan Rice. That's all I ask for, and then I'll name all my firstborn children after them. But I've been getting a lot of I've been online a bit recently, and just to move off the depression of our ownership for a little bit. But I was looking at people being like, no surprise, the Ollie out people hopped all over the fact that we drew 0-0 against Leeds, who are a good team. I don't understand. I really don't understand the big deal of it. But he said his eye was completely off the game today, and it was on the Roma game, which is, of course, probably at this moment in time the most important game of our season. Because let's be honest, we got top 4. I think he figured we weren't going to catch City, and it's just about guaranteeing that we get top 2 and getting a trophy. But do you feel that was the game plan today? I'm going to go. That's what's kind of going to be the round for this one to see us out. I'll go to you first, Stuart. What was it? A team that wasn't really going for it today? Do you believe that was saving himself for a bigger game on Thursday?
Yeah, well, look, I have a real problem with that anyway, because I want to win every game of football.
Yeah.
And as a professional, you should be wanting to win every game of football. Look, I understand Ollie's predicament with the Roma match coming up, but continuity and momentum is key in football. And I would, if he's got a starting lineup in mind for Thursday, I would have actually played that team today. I said on the review show that anybody who watches football would have seen Leeds play a different type of football since March. They're not expansive anymore. When they conceded, I think maximum of 2 goals. Scored a maximum of 2 goals. They were not conceding 4 or 5 that they were. So they completely changed their identity. And let's face it, people are. I saw on Twitter saying, "Oh, masterstroke by Bielsa." It's not rocket science. If you take Bruno out of the game and Pogba's not playing.
Wait, someone's chewing. Hold on.
I know, yeah.
Who's eating? Hold on, I'm going to put it. It was Barry.
What I was saying is, it isn't rocket science. What Bielsa did, it wasn't a tactical masterstroke. What Bielsa did, if you take Bruno out of our team at the minute, it's always going to be a problem, especially if Pogba isn't playing. So, I get it, but I don't get it. I'd rather have seen him play Roma's team, Thursday's team today. So they've got a game under their belts and gone in with a little bit of momentum. I think it's a bit of a slight disruption, if I'm being particularly honest. I just hope I'm proven wrong.
Yeah. Oh, we all hope that. Jeff, for yourself, were you as pessimistic as everyone else from today's game? Because it was a bit of a nothing game. Look, it wasn't a 6-2, but I personally think a draw against Leeds is fine, especially away from home. And it wasn't a game that anyone impressed in. But did you get much from it?
Well, when we saw the starting lineup earlier today, I just felt that okay, he's probably gonna sit back and just try to counter. That wasn't really the case, but I think they were both trying to sit back and hit each other on the counter. So looking at that starting lineup, I think Ole was really resting up for Thursday. Because, I get what Stu's saying, but if we did start the starting lineup for Thursday and then we get injuries, with our luck and injuries, then he'd get the shtick for it, So for me, while it was frustrating to watch, it wasn't that bad of a game. We just lacked that cutting edge on the penalty box. But the usual suspects will be the usual suspects, like Fred making reckless tackles and having that heavy touch, Daniel James with really just feeding loss at times, but overall, it wasn't that bad of a game from our players. I think the defense was really good. The fullbacks were flying down the flanks as expected. Um, Although we didn't get that creativity out of that wing play, but that was the game plan. Just go down the flanks and pack the middle so that it's not a high scoring game. So it's not that bad of a result. Hopefully it pays off on Thursday, and Oli doesn't regret that.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's next? Kane, for yourself, were you pessimistic after the result? Do you think it's all worth it if we get the result against Roma? And you're muted.
I think it's all worth it if we do get the result against Roma. Look, I think when you look at the starting lineup, I didn't overreact when I seen it because we beat them 6-2 with almost the same starting lineup minus Martial. Like Martial was the starting striker that day.
And Henderson.
So I thought like that team was well more than capable to go out and get the result today. Like when you look at Leeds' the record against the Big Six at home, I think they've drawn against nearly every team in the Big Six. So I agree, Joe. I think the result wasn't the worst result in the world. I think obviously we have a sizable gap to teams below us. And look, Thursday is massive for Ollie in terms of where he's measured in terms of progress and win the trophy. So look, if we win on Thursday and take a lead into the second leg, and like Pogba and Cavani are fully rested, and they go and they put out a performance on Thursday, no one will be talking about Ollie resting them then. So I think it's a catch-22 situation, obviously, because if we don't win Thursday, people had things to say then. But I think at this moment in time, Joe, let's wait and see, and let's hope we can get the result.
Yeah, absolutely. James, for yourself, how do you take this result? You're generally the most level-headed person on this show, aside from Stu, Jeff, Ben, Keen, Barry, and Abdul. You're generally after them. You're the most level-headed. So, how do you take the 0-0 draw?
Joe, you'll be surprised to know I'm not that unhappy with it. To be fair,
shock.
The performance going forward wasn't the best, obviously. But when you take Pogba out of this side, it never really is. But to subdue Leeds as we did, these are Marcelo Bielsa's a footballing genius because of the way he's got them attacking and free flowing. And I think they had one shot inside the box. It was the way we dominated the game and possession and. Yes, they pressed well, but we bypassed it quite a few times, which was very impressive. I think, to come away from Ellen Road with a point really isn't as devastating as people are making out. I know we have higher standards than that, and we see ourselves as the elite, but it's the elite have done exactly what we've done. It's not an embarrassing thing to do, and like Keane said, it's all going to be put in perspective on how we do against Roma. If Cavani can't play 3 games a week, and he's definitely going to play against Roma and Liverpool on Sunday as well. So resting him made sense. Pogba, the worst thing you could do would be to play him in a game which really meant very little, other than the mental fact that it was against Leeds. This game meant nothing really. Top fours were shoo-in, and to come away with a point, no injuries, a clean sheet, which will do the defenders a world of good, and yeah, it just puts it all in perspective. I think if we go to Roma and Liverpool and don't get results, then we'll be a lot more disappointed. But realistically, it's not worth judging right now. It was a solid performance, not the best, but just take a step back and put everything in perspective. It really isn't the worst thing that's ever happened this season.
And the fact that it is a game we should have won as well, because there was no real threat from Leeds, like maybe 1 or 2, but there was nothing really they did that put us under pressure. So it's a game we should have won, and to be honest, I'm fine with a clean sheet and a 0-0 draw. Ben, for yourself, were you as passionately disinterested as James was, or were you hoping for a Barnstormer today? Barnstormer, whatever it is.
I'm with Studo. I'm a bit disappointed. I wanted us to win, but I think people are forgetting the historical rivalry between fucking United and Leeds. I can't stand the bastards. I fucking hate Leeds. And the one team that I wanted to absolutely smash at Ellen Road would have been Leeds. Listen, I get Ollie's thinking now. I know we've got a big Europa League game coming up on Thursday, Roma. I can understand it. I can understand resting Pogba because he's fasting, obviously, and I think trying to play in that in the heat today, and on no food, no, it probably took out the poor lad. I don't. That could be. I don't know what it feels like to fast, mate. I eat too much and drink too much, but I'm sure even as a pro athlete trying to run out in that heat all day without any water, without having any pre-match food or anything, to take it out on you. Yeah. So I'm not. I can understand resting Pogba. I can understand Cavani as well. There's no chance that he's gonna play 3 matches in a row, like James said. But I don't know, mate. I'm with Stu though a little bit. I'm just disappointed because it's Leeds. You can't go up for Leeds United. You know what I mean? It's something's wrong with you. But then again, I think the way Bielsa's been playing his football, all his pundits been wanking themselves off stupid over Bielsa and Leeds. And I think somebody mentioned it earlier on. Since March time, he's changed it a little bit. He's got a bit more defensively minded, if you will. So I am disappointed. It could have been worse. We could have come away with a loss, and that would have pissed me off even more. But hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Barry, for yourself, first of all, have you ever been at a United Leeds game?
Only at Old Trafford, not at Elland Road.
How was that? What was
the games I watched United play? Leeds weren't exactly top of their game, so they were pretty easy games for United. They were sort of in the early 2000s when Leeds had already started imploding, so they were pretty easy games.
That's what you love to see. But how do you walk away with the result that we had today? Is it fine considering the week we have next week?
My feelings today a little bit ambivalent. Like some of the other lads, I want United to win every game and to look great in every game. What I did like is that we never, ever looked in trouble against Leeds. The defence was excellent. The whole back five were very, very... In fact, Henderson hardly had a save to make. I thought the fullbacks were particularly good. What I don't enjoy is Ollie's blinded loyalty to Fred and McTominay, because it takes away the creativity from the team. And I'm well on record saying I don't think Fred is nearly good enough for this team. I'm not going to go off about that. What disappointed me were the front runners not pulling the trigger. Too many touches up front. Leeds packed the box. They tried to beat too many players. And Mason and Marcus were particularly guilty with respect to that. I thought Dan James had a very poor game today. But Leeds, I think, took a lot of... Leeds probably made him rue the day that he didn't join Leeds rather than United, because they singled him out for some pretty harsh treatment. End of the day, a 0-0 draw, not the worst result. And I agree with what some of the chaps have said, in as much as had Cavani and Pogba started and one of them been injured, we would all be saying, why didn't he save them for Thursday? And I think he definitely has an eye on Thursday. And I have an eye on Liverpool on the weekend. I want to smash Liverpool come the weekend.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Yeah.
So it was okay. And absolutely correct what the others have said. We'll judge this based on Thursday. And Thursday is a very, very important game for United. But come next weekend, let's smash this Scouse.
Yes, absolutely. Abdul, for yourself, see us out. We know that you're a huge Ollie outer and a huge Bielsa inner, as we discussed in the preview. So was
Bielsa disappointed me.
Was today a shock for you? I think we were kind of expecting a more open game.
No. Actually, most of us said it's going to be a closer game than the game before. Like, I did not expect anything different. Like, I mean, if they had come out the same way they did come out last time in the reverse picture, they would have been idiots, because we would have handed them another 6, But the thing is, I mean, like at the point of Scott McTominay and Fred, like you have to know Ollie by now. Like he's gonna use them. It's just their go-to double pivot when you have a big game. It's just it's not a matter of him being defensive or offensive. It's a matter of that they're the two players that have what he needs in a high energy intensity game and can do the defensive duties of a CDM that unfortunately, we do not have. Imagine Matic in this match; he'll get overrun so easily. He will know what hit him. But unfortunately, and this is the state we're in, we have to play with Scott and Fred. I mean, if Ollie had someone like Ndidi on the bench and he's using Scott and McTominay and Fred, I'll be fuming, you know?
Yeah.
So it is what it is with Scott and Fred. And Bruno Fernandes being marked out of the game, it was not a surprise as well, because they did that the last game around. But the difference between this game and that game was when Bruno dragged Calvin Phillips out of the midfield, Scott and Fred ran into the empty space because Dallas and the other, I don't remember who the other 8 was caught up being very high up, and they didn't have time to get back. So Scott and Fred had all this space to run into in the midfield and just basically shoot from outside the box and get into the box and shoot. And that's the difference this time around. The 8s and the fullbacks of Leeds were very aware of not going too far up, So the fullbacks were withdrawn. The 2 8s, go up, but to a certain degree, and make sure you go back again fast before Scott and Fred can use that space against you. And that's that, and they canceled each other out. Now we could have won the game. We were closer to winning the game than them winning the game for sure. They didn't have anything going forward, but just the same mistakes as we've seen before. Sometimes from Rashford, from Greenwood being 19 and all, and still learning, and James, like that efficiency up top is still haunting us a little bit. But other than that, it was exactly as I expected it.
I think they're a bit more physical as well, weren't they, Abdel, this game?
Very physical.
With the tackles, Phillips in particular was very physical on Bruno, wasn't he, on many occasions. And you're right about the fullbacks. They didn't penetrate over the halfway line. You could probably count on one hand the amount of times they went over the halfway line.
Exactly. Last time around, they went full Leeds, how they used to play, and they left us all the space in the world. And
absolutely. And I said in the review show, what is our analysis team looking at then? What is our analysis team looking at? Because as I said from the beginning of March, they've shut up shop, Leeds.
Yeah.
And we still went with our predictable lineup. You're right, Abdel, because who else could you put in the middle?
Exactly. Guys,
but
this is
it's
3 minutes past the hour. Pizza has just arrived that my brother has stolen a slice off already. So it's left unprotected behind me that I need to get stuck into it. Okay. I will say we've said this on the preview game. I've a soon to be niece or nephew that is coming into the world, and this game was deciding who they supported. And so we still don't know. So because the father of the child is a Leeds fan, and then everyone else in the family is a Man United fan. We've already got a Man United jersey for the child, but we made a deal that since the draw, the child will decide itself. It'll decide. So
Joe,
that's lucky for us.
Put it to the vote of this panel.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Should the child be a Man United supporter? Just some sort of yell. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's decided, and it's a legally binding contract. Beautiful. Guys, thanks so much. It's been great being here for the 45 or the 103, 1 hour and 3 minutes. And we'll see you again over the next week with several more episodes of this stuff and pre-match stuff and all this sort of crack. So see you then. I can't wait to have my pizza. It's been an absolute pleasure. I always forget to cue this up. Where's the outro? There it is. See you later, folks.
Professional as always.